Ultra-processed foods are the reason why 93% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy.
A recent study just came out showing that food-like products like this are the main driver of chronic disease. Here are a few examples.
High-protein snacks like these.
Cookies like these.
Crackers like Ritz, Wheat Thins, and Triscuits.
Basically all of this bread.
The majority of these tortillas, especially if it says something like zero net carbs and carb balance.
Popular kid snacks like these.
Breakfast bars like this.
Nutritional drinks like Ensure, Pediasure, Breakfast Essentials, and honestly, all of these drinks.
The entire cereal aisle.
The entire cereal aisle. In the comments we have, so what are we supposed to eat? Another person says, actually just don't leave your home. Eat the leaves outside, but you'll have to leave your home to do that. And then we have the next person who says, I find it hardest to cut these foods out for kids' lunches. We go non-processed for breakfast and dinner. But are we to bake bread and homemade snacks for lunch? We have all heard people say things such as, eat only from the perimeter of the grocery store. If it has a label, it's a no-go. And like we just heard, processed food is the reason that we have an obesity pandemic. For years, the word processed has been used like a weapon in the health world. We have equated processed with trash, empty calories, and toxic. And for many women, this has turned the grocery store into some kind of minefield. You want to lose weight. And based on videos such as these, you think that in order to do that, then you have to let go of anything that comes in the form of a package. But then you realize fresh raspberries are like $8 a pack, and then they mold in just days. And prepping every single meal from scratch takes hours of your day. And you start to wonder, if I eat canned chickpeas or if I go for the frozen spinach, will that really be an issue when it comes to weight loss? And are all these health influencers actually making 3 meals and all those snacks from scratch every single day? It gets very, very confusing for many people. So today, we're going to look into the actual science of food processing, because believe it or not, the cleaning up that you have been told to do when it comes to your diet may be making your weight loss harder for no reason. Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm Daisy, aka D, and I'm here to help you navigate the confusing food rules that make weight loss feel like a full-time job, especially when it comes to the context of processed foods. Today we're going to tackle a myth that causes a lot of unnecessary guilt, and that is you need to cut out all processed foods if you want to lose weight. In my Better in 90 program, I see so many women who are so terrified of the word processing, even though they're not actually sure what it really means. Is a frozen bag of spinach bad? Is plain soy milk also considered junk? These are some of the questions that we have. But truth be told, processed is a spectrum. Let's break down the food groups that scientists actually use when it comes to processing, why some kinds of processing are actually good when it comes to weight loss and your health, and where the real junk is actually hiding. Could it actually be in the cereal aisle as earlier implied? First, let's talk about the 4 phases of processed. The reason we are so confused when it comes to food is because we use one word, processed, to describe very different things. To fix that, let's use the actual scientific categories, which are also known as the NOVA groups. Group 1 comprises the minimally processed foods, which are foods in their whole forms, which have either been cut or frozen or dried, but they have not had any added sugar or salt added to them. An example would be a pack of soybeans that you buy from the grocery store. Yes, it comes in a package. It has been through a factory where it has been cleaned and packaged nicely. It's not like you've gone to the garden and gotten the soybeans yourself, but the kind of processing it has gone through is very minimal, so that falls into the minimally processed group. Group 2 refers to the ingredients that we use in food. These are foods that have been milled or pressed from group 1 to give us ingredients. An example of that will be soybean oil. And usually you find that most of the things that you need to help you cook, be it oil, will fall into this category. Group 3 is where we find the modified foods. And this is what we get when we combine foods from group 1 and group 2 to make something new. An example here would be plain soy milk. It's made from soybeans, and it also has some additives that we will find in group 2. And finally, we come to group 4, which is the most controversial because this belongs to ultra-processed foods, which many people like referring to as food-like items as opposed to food. And that's because these are industrial creations that are made with chemically modified ingredients. So if we were to look at the soy milk, this will be flavored soy milk that also has thickeners and sweeteners. It's been processed to a very large extent. And also here you will find foods such as Pringles and Oreos and most of the foods that you find prepackaged in the grocery store. But when it comes to the processed food myth, you are told that as long as you've moved away from group 1, then you're eating something that is unhealthy. But is that actually true when it comes to weight loss and your health? Now this is where we get to the interesting parts. Let's talk about the bad reputation that processed foods get versus the reality. We have been told by health gurus over time that in order for us to lose weight or even be healthy, then we have to say goodbye to all kinds of processed foods. And sure, if you stop eating crepes and cookies and most of the foods that you will find in group 4, you're likely to find that your weight will actually drop. But the problem is that people usually throw out the baby with the bathwater, which is a weird saying. I really don't know anyone who's ever done that. But people throw out the baby with the bathwater when it comes to processed foods. When they're told that they can no longer have processed foods in order to be healthy and lose weight, then they say goodbye to all kinds of processed foods. You find that they say goodbye to good things such as canned tuna and canned beans, frozen berries and frozen vegetables, yogurt, and even whole grain bread, because it's coming from the store, it's coming in a package, so it's processed, it's bad, right? And even pre-cut salads, and the list goes on and on and on. But when you look at foods such as these, you can see that they are satiating, and that's not all. They're also full of the vital nutrients that we need for our health as well as on weight loss journeys. And most importantly, they are affordable. For many women and many people around the world, buying canned and frozen foods is actually one of the easiest ways to eat healthy without actually breaking the bank. Processing in these cases does not only just save them time, but it also saves them a lot of money. But this nuance gets lost when we overgeneralize processing, and I know that sometimes people can say that people are being obtuse by breaking the food groups apart, but it's important to consider all these nuances. And on that note, let's look at this video from another creator.
Frozen fruit, processed. Cooked shrimp and wild caught salmon, processed. Organic baby spinach, processed. 93% lean ground beef, processed. Broccoli, processed. Oats, processed. Greek yogurt, processed. Orange juice, processed. Almond milk, processed. Everything in a can, processed. Almond butter where the only ingredient is almonds, processed. Anyone that tells you to completely cut out processed foods, red flag. Processed does not mean unhealthy.
And someone commented, I remember someone telling me to stop eating processed while they drank apple juice, which they made themselves, but that is still processed, right? Yes, minimally processed, and that's group 1. As long as you're not just picking the food straight from the ground or the tree or whatever and just putting it in your mouth, you're going to process it in some way. Even just cutting it is processing. But sometimes the myth does get it right when it comes to ultra processed foods. Now let's talk about the ultra processed food trap. The real problem when it comes to food is not processing. It is ultra processing, as is the case with group 4 foods. These foods such as sodas and pastries and chips and my favorites Oreos are often high in sodium, unhealthy fats and refined carbs. So these foods don't make you gain weight because they are processed. First, they make you gain weight because they have been designed to be overeaten. People are always talking about how we have so many scientists working with food manufacturers to make food that is so palatable that you don't actually want to stop eating it. And more recently, there have been rumors that these scientists are working on foods that can actually override GLP-1 effects. These foods have actually been designed to make you overeat them, to make you lose track of what you're eating, such that if you are going to eat just a few crisps, you find that you've eaten the whole bag. That's the first way that they get you to gain weight. Secondly, these foods are very high in calories, and because they have been stripped of most of their nutrients and their fiber, then they do not have a high satiety factor. So you couple the high calories with the fact that you don't actually feel full after eating them, then it's very easy to get into a calorie surplus when eating these foods. So you're not going to gain weight because they are processed per se. You're going to gain weight because you end up eating a lot of them, and at the same time these foods are very high in calories. So you combine the two and then boom, you have gained weight. So now let's talk about the solution. We know where the myth comes from and we understand what exactly processed means. So what do we do about these? In my Better in 90 program, we do not burn the middle aisles of the grocery store. In fact, I went shopping today and I did pass through the middle aisles and I got myself something nice. And so we just learned to tell the difference between a convenience food and a calorie trap. And that's the difference between group 1 foods and group 4 foods. And if you want sustainable weight loss, you need to embark on a diet that honors your schedule as well as your budget. That said, here are my 3 strategies for navigating the processed food world while still losing weight, or if you're trying to maintain your current weight, maintaining it. First, embrace the convenience foods. They are there for a reason. People often fear frozen and canned foods because they are processed, but like I said, these are group 1 foods. These are minimally processed, and as a result, they still have most of their vital nutrients, if not all, and they are also very high in fiber, and most importantly, they are cheaper in most cases compared to buying fresh produce. So when you eat these foods that are in group 1 and sometimes even in group 3, you get to feel full, and you also get to enjoy all the vital nutrients that you need for your weight loss journey as well as your health. And you also get to avoid that urge to order takeout whenever you're tired and you don't feel like cooking. You save time and you save on calories. Secondly, you need to watch out for the additions. When it comes to eating group 4 foods, this is where you want to be more mindful. In many cases, you find that the foods in this category have been stripped of their fiber and most of their nutrients. Like I said, this predisposes you to eating so much that you end up in a calorie surplus. And along this line, we come to point number 3, which is you need to let go of the clean eating guilt. Rigid food rules don't help when it comes to weight loss or even health. That means if you love your morning toast, or if you love your morning yogurt, or you like the occasional Oreos like I do, then you need to keep them in your diet. In this case, processing will not be the enemy, but if you do not have balance in your diet, then you will be setting yourself up to fail. Most likely, not guaranteed, but it's most likely that you will fail because you will not have the balance required to make your journey sustainable. So as you incorporate more processed, minimally processed foods in your diet, leave some room for ultra processed foods, right? As much as they are highly palatable and they are likely to lead you into a calorie surplus, we cannot deny that these foods taste good and they're nice occasionally. And most people find that ideally eating an 80-20 or 90-10 diet where you prioritize 80% to 90% of the time you eat whole foods and then you leave the rest for ultra processed foods, that makes weight loss more sustainable in the long run. Processed is a spectrum, so no matter what the headlines say, there's no reason to feel guilty for enjoying canned or frozen foods. Just focus on getting your nutrients in a way that's convenient and affordable for you. That said, what is your go-to convenience food that keeps you on track? For me, it's canned tomatoes because I do not like actually cutting tomatoes, and I find that buying them canned is more convenient for me. I can just pour them in when I'm making a stew and I don't have to worry about washing them or cutting them, dicing them, blanching them. They just come ready to eat. I also love dehydrated soy beans. Let's chat in the comments. I would like to hear what kind of processed foods that you enjoy eating, whether they are minimally processed or highly processed, ultra processed like my dear Oreos. And give this video a thumbs up if you're ready to start eating more processed foods and letting go of the clean eating guilt, and subscribe so that you don't miss out on next week's meal. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.